Good morning, Texoma. I'm Ashley Fitzwater. Thanks for joining us for our special 100th show here on Inside Texoma. I can't believe we've already hit the mark, telling stories that not only impact you, but also reveal who and just what Texoma is made of. This show has allowed us to tell the stories of those who shape our community into what it is today like no other. We're able to dedicate 30 minutes to community service and why Texoma really is the best place to live. As a hometown girl, I feel blessed to work at a station that showcases the community that I grew up in, and even more blessed to be one of the ones who gets to tell your stories, Texoma. I've been a News Channel 6 employee for the last 10 years, and Inside Texoma will always be one of my favorite things about this job. It's incredible to look back at just how far this show has come since debuting March 28th, 2010. We've since switched from standard definition, which you see right here, to now broadcasting in high definition. And what a difference that's made. Your Inside Texoma stories are also shown on 2 networks now, News Channel 6 Sunday mornings at 5:30 and on Texoma CW Sunday mornings at 9. And we can't forget about our YouTube page, which is still one of the coolest benefits. You're able to see the entire 30 minutes and even email a link of your favorite show or one you are featured in to all your family and friends, making our mission of looking out for you and doing so by telling the stories that impact you and shape our community a reality. The show and all of the awesome behind-the-scenes people who make this all come together even had the honor of winning an Addy. It's truly been a great ride so far and something we look forward to continuing.
My work with Hotter Than Hell 100 and MSU Burns Fantasy of Lights are 2 of the biggest events here in Wichita Falls, and working with Ashley Fitzwater and the staff at Channel 6 and doing the Inside Texoma shows were such a great help. We really got the community involved, being on the show, and you know, it's not just a 1-minute advertisement that you see on TV. It's really getting, you know, the event planners there and Ashley interviewing them and letting people know in the community what time it's going to be, where it's going to be at, and how people can get involved. So good job to Inside Texoma, great job to Channel 6 and the staff, and what can I say, it's a great show.
Inside Texoma has influenced a lot of people in a year's time, and I know for the Texas-Oklahoma Fair, it's brought thousands of people to the fairgrounds for the Lions Club. For the 5 gun and knife shows that we have here in this town each year, I've been doing it for 32 years. We notice an increase when we get publicity through Ashley and through you folks here at Channel 6. So it's important to get the word to the public. It's important for the public to respond, and as far as I'm concerned, they have responded the past year to this particular morning program. So many people tell me also that they're taping it and saving it and playing it and emailing it and doing everything else with it. So I, for one, for the Texas-Oklahoma Fair, for the different events that go on in the community, there's so many different things, the Pancake Festival, all of the different things that you all have promoted, I just want to say thank you.
Stay with us, Texoma. Our 100th Inside Texoma show continues after the break. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Now that we've told you a little bit about us, we want to take some time to look back at some of our favorites. And let me tell you something, shortening this list was hard to do. I am not kidding when I say that we had a room full of people helping trim back the long list of favorites. But one that will always stand out for numerous reasons was our very first show, The History of Wichita Falls. When you grow up in a town you think you know everything about, I quickly learned there was so much more, especially about the men who shaped Wichita Falls and even put it on the map. Kemp and Kell are not just streets in the Falls, they are also the men who shaped the city that Faith built. True founding fathers who saw the promise that this Texoma town had to offer. They moved their families to town and got right to work, bringing in the railroad, grain elevators, even irrigation. Some of the numerous things that helped coin the famous phrase, think like Kemp, but work like Kell.
Although a lot has changed since Kemp and Kell made their mark, some is still the same, including the home the Kell family lived in back in the early 1900s. Kell home had one of the first private resident elevators in Wichita Falls, and it was about the size of an old phone booth.
Mr. Kell had a fall in 1939, was having a hard time getting up and down the stairs after he recovered, so the family installed an elevator. Well, the problem was the grandchildren loved to play under here, and they were always afraid the elevator was going to come down and squish them. So Mrs. Kell would get a basket of eggs out of the fridge, and she'd put it on the floor, and she'd bring the elevator down, and it would stop without crushing an egg. It has a pressure plate on the bottom that would sense if somebody was underneath it.
The upstairs was more like home, and each room with its own story. But the one that stands out is known as the Red Room, or Willie Mae's room.
This is the room that each of the daughters got from the time they were engaged until the time they got married. Willie Mae, though she was the second oldest daughter, was the last to get the room, and she told her father, "Daddy, I'm just too old to get married." But she was a very independent woman, and she would have had to give up a lot of the things that she loved if she had married. She was the first woman to earn a letter in a varsity sport at the University of Texas. She got her T in tennis. She helped form the local chapter of the Red Cross, served as its first president, then decided that wasn't enough. This was during World War I. So she talked her father into donating an ambulance, and she took it to France and drove it.
Another notorious piece of Wichita Falls history is the bank robbery of 1896, where Graham says 2 men robbed the bank located where Gidget's Sandwich Shop is open for business today, and also directly across from the building she owns today. Not only did the 2 men rob the bank, they also killed a man there. His name, Mr. Frank Dorsey.
And that became a pretty big story in our area too, right? With the man, Mr. Dorsey. Tell us a little bit about him. Was he just working at the bank?
He was just working at the bank. I think Mr. Dorsey was around in his 30s. He was a very well-liked man in the community, and people were just devastated that he had been killed.
Now, who was responsible for the bank robber's death? Was that like the police in that time, or I had read something about the townspeople kind of taking charge? Was that something?
Well, they did take charge, but if you read the history of the bank robbery, the Texas Rangers actually knew that the bank was going to be robbed. I don't know that for sure that they knew which bank. So they were actually here for 4 days, waiting for the bank to be robbed, but also were the bank robbers. So as soon as they left and they got on the train, they got word in Bellevue that the bank had been robbed.
But it wasn't just the crime committed that made history. It was also the way the criminals were killed, lynched right in front of the bank building. Graham says it was the only time in the history of our city that hangings have taken place, and the vengeance and act of the revenge started when the Rangers got a hold of the men responsible.
Then they got off the train and went up into Indian Territory, which is Oklahoma at the time, and caught them and brought them back. And then a vigilante group went down and broke them out of jail and dragged them down the street and piled up boxes and, wooden boxes and hung them right there.
Wow.
A story about the birth of Wichita Falls that will live on as a legend in our city's history.
Another favorite had to be highlighting the moms and dads at Texoma. I was fortunate enough to be on the awesome panel of mothers who shared all about the sweetest moments, even the struggles that we all face as parents. We also honored our dads this past Father's Day, and let me tell you, those men shined. We were all just blown away with the show's final product, proving yet again how important fathers really are in a child's life. So sit back as we say thanks and honor yet again Texoma fathers and mothers.
Well, I think I know the lyrics to SpongeBob SquarePants, Dora the Explorer, when we andale, or what is it? Let's go, or something to that effect. And then also, Hannah Montana, since Kelly is now into and iCarly. Oh my goodness. So I watch all of those. Yeah, you can ask me about any of them. I'll tell you where they're at and what's going on with their lives. I don't know about you guys.
Mine is the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yes.
She'll stop anything, and especially for the hot dog song, she just memorized.
Hot diggity dog.
Oh,
Yes.
Absolutely. She'll stop crying. She'll stop at everything just to listen and watch that song. So I get like a 25-minute break if I want.
Hey, that's always a plus. What about you, Crystal?
We're of course the Dora fans and Mickey Mouse Club still, but we're more of Cinderella, Anastasia the ballerina, anything pertaining to a princess is more what we are into.
But you know what? That's a good stage to be in, because I can't say that I would mind being in the princess stage right now. Right now we are more into the singing and stuff like that. Probably the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I know SpongeBob, definitely a big hit, but I have to remind Caleb that You know, he has little sisters, so sometimes we have to watch the girls shows, you know, so she can have a chance. But I think there's a Bubble Guppies or something on right now that she also likes. I appreciate all of you being here today, taking time not only from your jobs, but also your families to be here today, but to really honor Texoma dads. Why do you think it is so important for children to really have a father figure in their lives?
Well, I just think it's important as a dad to be a role model or someone that can come in and really teach your kids, hey, this is how it's done, show them right from wrong, and try to learn from the mistakes that I made and try to keep them from going in that direction.
What about you, Eric?
You know, I think fathers and mothers are equally important, but as far as the role of the father, I believe the father's to teach boys and girls how to become men and women of God, how to be men and women of integrity, how to show their sons how they're supposed to treat a woman, and for their daughters to show their daughters how men are supposed to treat, you know, them. And so I think fathers play a very vital role.
What about you, Chris?
How can you answer any better than that? I mean, I would exactly say the same thing that they would say. You know, the role model and, of course, bringing them up in the way of the Lord. So
it's just something I know that only truly a father can do. Don't go anywhere. There's much more to come on our 100th Inside Texoma show.